The Corvani Grand Arena gleamed under artificial sunlight, its massive dome housing 20,000 spectators from a dozen different star systems. The circular battlefield at its center was scarred with plasma burns and hydraulic fluid stains, evidence of 3 months of non-stop combat. Raymond Keller stood alone in the arena's center, his muscular frame bearing the marks of his previous battles. A network of burn scars across his torso, a jagged line across his left cheek, and eyes that had seen too much death. He wore nothing but tattered combat pants, his feet bare against the scorched metal floor. Sweat carved clean lines through the grime on his skin as he watched the massive doors at the far end of the arena begin to open. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored visitors," boomed the announcer's voice in 15 languages. "The Corvani Grand Arena presents our undefeated champion, the human Raymond." The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some cheered at the prospect of more bloodshed. Others booed the human who had survived longer than any before him. Raymond ignored them all, his attention fixed on the widening gap in the arena wall. Today, Raymond faces our most accomplished mech pilot, the noble-born Sarissa, piloting the Corvani military's newest Titan-class battle mech. The ground trembled as a 12-foot mechanical monster stepped into the light. The battle mech was a masterpiece of Corvani engineering, gleaming silver armor plates, covering a frame of advanced composites, powered by a fusion core that hummed with barely contained energy. Its arms ended in articulated claws, capable of crushing steel, and shoulder-mounted plasma cannons glowed with deadly blue light. Raymond's expression didn't change. He'd seen these machines before, had faced down 5 of them in his time here. None had been piloted by a noble, though that was new. From his position in a luxury box, Arena Master Vorak smiled thinly, his silver-white hair marking him as the highest caste of Corvani society. He tapped a communication panel beside him. "Sarissa, this specimen has survived too long. End him quickly, but extract maximum data. His resilience may be genetic." Inside the mech's cockpit, Sarissa nodded. Her crimson eyes, another mark of nobility, narrowed as she studied the human through her targeting systems. "Understood, Arena Master," she replied. "Beginning combat sequence." The mech lunged forward with surprising speed, its massive feet leaving impact craters in the arena floor. Raymond rolled sideways, feeling the heat of displaced air as metal claws slashed through the space he'd occupied a moment before. The crowd roared its approval. Raymond had no weapons, no armor, nothing but his training and 3 months of desperate survival experience. He circled the mech, analyzing its movements, noting how it favored its right side, how its left leg actuator whined slightly when it pivoted. "Fight, human!" Sarissa's amplified voice boomed through external speakers. "Show us your species' famous tenacity!" Raymond didn't respond. Instead, he darted forward, ducking beneath a sweeping arm and sliding between the mech's legs. Before Sarissa could turn her machine, he was up again, leaping onto the back of the mech's left knee joint. "What is he doing?" muttered Vorak, leaning forward in his seat. Raymond had found what he was looking for, the exposed hydraulic lines of the actuator housing. With nothing but his bare hands, he jammed his fingers into the narrow gap between armor plates and began to pull. Muscles strained. Tendons stood out like cables on his forearms. Blood trickled down his hands as metal edges cut into his skin. Inside the cockpit, warning lights flashed across Sarissa's console. "Left leg actuator compromised," reported the mech's AI. "Hydraulic pressure dropping." "Impossible," she muttered, trying to reach behind her with the mech's arms. But the design had a fatal flaw. The arms couldn't reach the back of the knee joint. Raymond roared with effort as he tore free a crucial hydraulic line. Pressurized fluid sprayed across his chest like arterial blood. But he didn't stop. His fingers found the central locking pin of the joint assembly. With one wrenching motion, he twisted it free. The arena fell silent as the 12-foot war machine suddenly dropped to one knee. The thunderous impact sent Raymond tumbling, but he rolled to his feet immediately, circling around to the front of the destabilized mech. Sarissa frantically worked her controls, but the machine was crippled. She had one option left: the plasma cannons, taking aim at the approaching human. Her finger hovered over the firing control. Through the cockpit's transparent canopy, her eyes met Raymond's. In that moment, something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps, or respect. Whatever it was. It stopped her finger from pressing the trigger. Instead, Sarissa did something no one expected. She disengaged the canopy seal. With a hiss of equalizing pressure, the cockpit opened. The crowd gasped as the pilot stood, raising her hands above her head in the universal gesture of surrender. "I yield," she said in perfect, unaccented English. The arena fell completely silent. 20,000 spectators held their breath. In the luxury box, Vorik's face contorted with rage. "What is the meaning of this?" he hissed into his communicator. "Sarissa, you dishonor the Corvani military." Sarissa ignored him. Her eyes, those distinctive crimson irises, remained locked on Raymond's. "You've earned your life today, human. And perhaps more than that." Guards flooded the arena floor, surrounding the disabled mech. Raymond stood his ground, confused but unwilling to show weakness. The announcer's voice stammered, trying to salvage the situation. "A technical malfunction appears to have occurred. The match is temporarily suspended." Sarissa descended from her cockpit, landing gracefully despite the height. Up close, Raymond could see she was tall for a Corvani, nearly matching his 6-foot frame. Her skin had the characteristic pale blue tint of her species, but lacked the modeling common to warriors. Her silver-white hair was cropped short in military fashion. "Medical team for the pilot and prisoner," she commanded the guards in the Corvani language. Then, in English only Raymond could hear, "Play along if you want to live." 2 guards grabbed Raymond by the arms. He allowed it, watching Sarissa curiously as she feigned injury, clutching her side as if the mech's emergency systems had hurt her during the malfunction. "I require private medical attention," she announced. "And the prisoner must be examined for data collection before his scheduled termination. I will oversee both procedures personally." Vorak's voice crackled over the arena's communication system. "Sarissa, report to command immediately." She tapped her communication implant. "With respect, Arena Master, protocol dictates that pilot health takes precedence after mechanical failure. I will report after medical clearance." Without waiting for a response, she gestured for the guards to follow her, bringing Raymond along. They marched him through service corridors, away from the public areas of the arena. After several turns, when they were alone in a maintenance tunnel, Sarissa dismissed the guards. "Return to your posts. I'll handle the prisoner myself." The guards hesitated. "Noble Sarissa, regulations require—" "Do I need to remind you of my authority?" Her voice carried the unmistakable edge of someone accustomed to being obeyed. The guards bowed slightly and retreated. When they were alone, Sarissa quickly produced a small device from her utility belt and activated it. A faint humming filled the air. "Privacy screen," she explained, noticing Raymond's questioning look. "We can speak freely now." "Why do you speak my language?" Raymond asked, his voice rough from disuse. It had been months since he'd spoken to another human. "I specialized in Earth studies before the war," she replied, reaching into a wall panel and retrieving a medical kit. "Now, hold still. Those hydraulic fluids are caustic to human skin." She began treating the chemical burns on his chest and hands with surprising gentleness. Raymond winced as she applied a cooling gel to the worst areas. "Why help me?" he asked. "I just destroyed your mech." Sarissa's crimson eyes flicked up to meet his. "Because this war is based on lies, and you just proved something I've suspected for months." "What's that?" "That humans aren't the mindless savages our leadership claims." She finished bandaging his hands and stepped back. Follow me. We don't have much time before they realize something's wrong. She led him deeper into the maintenance areas, eventually reaching what appeared to be her private quarters. The room was Spartan, a sleeping platform, a workstation, and little else. Military efficiency extended even to the highest castes, it seemed. "You're a prisoner of war," Sarissa said, handing him a clean shirt from a storage compartment. "Captured during the Battle of Proxima Station." Raymond nodded as he pulled the shirt on. "Special Forces. We were boarding a Corvani cruiser when my team was ambushed. Your team died. You were brought here because you showed unusual resilience during interrogation." She sat on the edge of her sleeping platform. "Do you know why we have the arena? Entertainment for your bloodthirsty population?" Her expression hardened. "It's not that simple. The arena serves multiple purposes. Yes, it's propaganda, showing Corvani's superiority over captured enemies. But it's also a laboratory." Raymond tensed. "What kind of laboratory?" "Vorak isn't just the arena master. He's the chief geneticist for our military's bioweapons division." Sarissa's voice dropped lower. "The gladiatorial matches are a cover for genetic research. Every injury, every drop of blood, every test of your endurance, it's all being studied." "For what purpose?" "To create soldiers who combine human adaptability with Corvani strength." She stood and began pacing. "That's why I surrendered today. I've suspected Vorak was conducting unauthorized experiments. But I needed proof. And I gave you that proof? How?" "No human should have been able to disable a Titan-class mech with their bare hands. It's physically impossible. Unless Vorak has already been experimenting on you between matches." She stopped pacing and faced him. "Have you noticed anything different about yourself since your capture? Increased strength? Faster healing?" Raymond considered this. His injuries had been healing more quickly lately. He'd attributed it to adaptation and survival necessity. But there had been nights when he'd felt strange sensations, waking with fresh injection marks on his arms. "I thought they were just taking blood samples," he said quietly. Sarissa shook her head. "They're altering you, Raymond. And you're not the only one. There are dozens of human prisoners in the sub-levels of this facility. The public sees only the arena matches. But the real work happens below." Raymond absorbed this information, his jaw tightening with anger. "So what now? Why risk yourself to tell me this?" "Because I'm part of something larger than myself." Sarissa moved to her workstation and activated a hidden panel. "There's a movement among my people. We call ourselves the Truth Seekers. We believe this war was engineered by corrupt leaders on both sides, and Vorak is one of the architects." "You're resistance fighters," Raymond said, understanding dawning. "We prefer advocates for truth. But yes." She pulled up a schematic on her display. "This is the arena complex. We're here." She pointed to a section in the eastern quadrant. "And here." Her finger moved to an area deep beneath the arena floor. "Is where Vorak conducts his real work." Raymond studied the schematic. "You want to expose him?" "We need to. And you're going to help us." She closed the display and turned to face him. "Tonight, I'm going to show you what's really happening. If you still want to fight Corvani after that, I'll give you a weapon myself. But I think you'll see that our real enemy isn't each other." For the first time in months, Raymond felt something other than the desperate need to survive. He felt purpose. "I'm listening." Hours later, after the arena had emptied of spectators, Sarissa returned to her quarters with food and water. Raymond had spent the time examining her living space, looking for anything that might help him understand his unusual ally. "The monitoring systems show you as secured in the medical wing," she explained, handing him a container of nutrients formulated for human consumption. "We have about 4 hours before the night shift change." As they ate, Raymond studied her. How does someone born to nobility end up working against their own government? Sarissa's expression darkened. "My brother was a scientist. He discovered evidence that our leadership had fabricated the incident that started this war. The supposed human attack on our colony at Bellis Prime. She set down her food. When he tried to publish his findings, he disappeared. Officially, he died in a laboratory accident. Unofficially. "I'm sorry," Raymond said quietly. She nodded. After that, I began to question everything. I joined the military to gain access, to find proof of what my brother discovered. That led me to the Truth Seekers. And how many of you are there? Enough to make a difference, if we can expose Vorak's operation to the public. She checked the time. We should go. Keleth will be waiting. Keleth? Our leader. He's going to help us get into the lower levels. They left her quarters through a maintenance access point, descending through narrow utility passages designed for automated repair drones. Sarissa moved with practiced ease, suggesting she'd used these routes before. Raymond followed silently, his special forces training allowing him to move as quietly as she did. After nearly 30 minutes of crawling through increasingly narrow passages, they reached a small junction chamber. Waiting there was a Corvani male with unusual skin. Unlike Sarissa's steady pale blue, his seemed to shift between purple and black, like oil on water. Keleth, Sarissa greeted him with a respectful nod. The Corvani studied Raymond with intelligent eyes. So this is the human who defeated a Titan class. Impressive. His English was accented but fluent. Raymond, this is Keleth, leader of the Truth Seekers in this sector. Sarissa introduced them. Raymond extended his hand, a deliberately human gesture. After a moment's hesitation, Keleth took it. Your existence complicates things, human, Keleth said. But it may also be exactly what we needed. How so? Raymond asked. Follow me, and you'll understand. Keleth pressed a hidden panel, revealing a passage that sloped steeply downward. And prepare yourself. What you're about to see will change how you view this conflict forever. The passage descended far deeper than Raymond had expected, eventually opening into a maintenance corridor that served the arena's lowest levels. Keleth led them through a maze of utility rooms and storage areas, carefully avoiding security checkpoints. The labs are ahead, Keleth whispered. Sarissa's credentials will get us through the outer door, but after that, we'll need to be more creative. Sarissa approached a security panel and placed her palm against it. After a moment, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Beyond lay a sterile corridor, illuminated by harsh white light. Medical personnel only beyond this point, she explained. My pilot status gives me access for physiological monitoring, but it won't get us into the restricted areas. Keleth produced a small device and attached it to the next security panel they encountered. Vorak may be a genetic genius, but his cybersecurity is outdated. After a tense minute, the panel blinked green, and another door opened. Raymond's blood ran cold at what he saw beyond. The laboratory was vast, at least 5 times larger than the arena above. Row after row of examination tables filled the space, many occupied by human forms. Some moved weakly against their restraints. Others lay completely still. Medical equipment hummed and beeped, monitoring vital signs and administering unknown substances through intravenous lines. By all the stars, Raymond whispered, horror evident in his voice. This is only the first level, Keleth said grimly. There are 3 more below. Sarissa moved to a computer terminal. Keep watch. I need 2 minutes to download the research data. While she worked, Raymond moved closer to the nearest examination table. The man strapped to it was barely recognizable as human. His skin had taken on a bluish tint, and portions of his muscle structure had clearly been altered. His eyes were open, but unseeing. What have they done to him? Raymond asked, his voice tight with fury. Genetic recombination, Keleth answered. Vorak is trying to create human Corvani hybrids, soldiers with human adaptability and creativity. but Corvani physical advantages and loyalty conditioning. Loyalty to whom? Not to Corvani leadership, as most would assume. Keleth's shifting skin darkened to nearly black. To Vorak himself, and to the highest bidder. Raymond turned to him. What do you mean? Vorak isn't creating these hybrids for our military, Keleth explained. He's creating them to sell to the galactic hegemony, a third party that benefits from prolonged conflict between our species. Before Raymond could respond, voices echoed from a connecting corridor. Keleth gestured urgently for silence. The latest batch shows remarkable stability, came a cultured Corvani voice, Vorak himself. The neural mapping is taking hold without the previous rejection symptoms. And the timeline? Asked another voice. My employers are growing impatient. The first combat-ready units will be available within 2 lunar cycles, 20 initially, with production scaling to 100 per cycle thereafter. The voices grew louder as the speakers approached. Sarissa frantically disconnected from the terminal, pocketing a data crystal. We need to hide, she whispered. Now! Keleth pointed to a storage alcove, and the 3 of them squeezed inside, just as Vorak entered the main laboratory, accompanied by a figure obscured by a hooded cloak. From their hiding place, they could see Vorak clearly, tall, even for a Corvani, with the silver-white hair of pure nobility and cold, calculating eyes. He moved with the confidence of absolute authority as he led his visitor between the rows of examination tables. As you can see, Vorak was saying, we've solved the tissue rejection issues. The latest subjects retain human cognitive flexibility while incorporating Corvani strength and sensory enhancements. The hooded figure nodded. And loyalty programming? Absolute. They respond only to specific command sequences, hardwired at the genetic level. Vorak stopped beside one table, checking the monitors. This specimen, for example, shows particular promise. Former human special forces. The adaptability is exceptional. Raymond stiffened. The man on the table had been part of his unit. When can I inspect the command responsiveness? Asked the visitor. Tomorrow. We're implementing final neural pathways tonight. Vorak gestured to a team of lab technicians who had entered behind them. Prepare Subject 37 for demonstration tomorrow. The hegemony representative wishes to see the command structure in action. As the technicians moved to comply, Vorak and his visitor continued their tour, eventually disappearing into another section of the laboratory. Sarissa touched Raymond's arm, feeling the tension in his muscles. We need to go, she whispered. We have what we came for. Raymond's eyes remained fixed on his former comrade. We can't leave them here. We can't free them now, Keleth countered. Not without alerting the entire facility. Our best chance, their best chance, is to expose this operation to the public. Reluctantly, Raymond allowed himself to be led back through the labyrinthine passages to the utility tunnels. Once they were safely away from the laboratory complex, he turned to Sarissa and Keleth. How do we stop this? Keleth's skin rippled with dark patterns, a sign of intense emotion among his subspecies of Corvani. We use the arena against Vorak. The broadcasts reach 15 star systems. If we can hijack the transmission during a high-profile match, we can show everyone what's happening beneath the spectacle. And how exactly do we do that? Raymond asked. I have access to the broadcasting hub, Sarissa explained, but I'll need help bypassing the security protocols, and we'll need a diversion. Which is where you come in, Keleth told Raymond. Tomorrow, you're scheduled to face another Mech pilot. It's meant to be your execution after today's embarrassment. But instead, Sarissa continued, I've arranged to be your opponent again. Officially. I've demanded the chance to redeem myself. Unofficially. It gives us control of the timing. While all eyes are on the arena, Keleth added, I'll infiltrate the broadcast center and upload the laboratory footage Sarissa just collected, along with documented evidence of Vorak's dealings with the hegemony. Raymond considered the plan. What about Vorak himself? He'll be in his box watching the match. Once the broadcast begins, security will be focused on the transmission hub, Sarissa said. That's when you'll make your move. Me. You'll need to capture Vorak, Keleth confirmed. As evidence, and to prevent him from escaping once the truth is revealed. Can you do it? Raymond thought of his comrade strapped to the examination table, and his expression hardened. I can do it. Then we have our plan, Keleth said. The match begins at midday tomorrow. Sarissa will bring you to the arena as her prisoner. I'll handle the broadcast. The rest will be up to you. What about afterward? Raymond asked. Assuming we succeed? Sarissa and Keleth exchanged glances. The truth seekers have prepared for this moment, Keleth said. We have supporters throughout the Corvani military and government. Once Vorak's atrocities are exposed, many who have been afraid to speak out will find their courage. And the war? Raymond pressed. One step at a time. Human. Keleth replied. First, we remove Vorak. Then we can begin the longer process of peace. The next morning, Sarissa returned to her quarters where Raymond had spent an uneasy night planning his part of the mission. It's time, she said, entering with a guard uniform. Put this on. You'll pose as my security escort until we reach the preparation area. As Raymond changed, Sarissa watched him with an unreadable expression. Are you having second thoughts? He asked her. No, she replied, but I am thinking about what comes after, for both our peoples, and for us. The sudden personal nature of her comment caught Raymond off guard. I haven't thought past survival for months, he admitted, but I'd like to see Earth again someday. Perhaps I could see it with you, she said quietly, when this is over. Before Raymond could respond, her communication implant chimed. We need to go, she said, her professional demeanor returning. Keleth is in position. They moved through the arena complex with practiced confidence. Sarissa nodding to other personnel as they passed. Raymond kept his head down, the guard helmet concealing his human features. They reached the preparation area without incident. Remove your disguise here, Sarissa instructed. From this point, you're the prisoner again. Raymond complied, handing her the uniform. She stored it in a locker, then hesitated. Raymond, if something goes wrong. It won't, he assured her. But if it does, she insisted. Know that not all Corvani wanted this war. Remember that. He held her gaze for a long moment. I will. The arena was filled beyond capacity. 40,000 spectators crammed into a space designed for 20. The previous day's unprecedented events had created a sensation throughout Corvani space. Viewership projections for the broadcast indicated billions would be watching across 15 star systems. In his luxury box, Vorak watched the preparations with thinly veiled anticipation. Beside him sat the hooded representative from the hegemony. Pity to waste such a fine specimen in the arena, remarked the representative. This human has shown remarkable resilience. His genetic material has already been harvested and catalogued, Vorak replied dismissively. His physical form is now irrelevant. Today's match serves only to restore Corvani pride after yesterday's irregularity. Below, the arena floor had been reconfigured overnight. New obstacles had been added, twisted metal structures that provided cover and hazards in equal measure. The crowd's roar intensified as the announcer's voice boomed through the stadium. Citizens of the Corvani Alliance and honored guests, today's match is a special redemption battle. Noble Sarissa has personally requested the opportunity to correct yesterday's malfunction and demonstrate proper Corvani superiority. The massive doors at one end of the arena opened, revealing Sarissa's repaired battle mech. The Titan-class machine stepped forward, its movements more fluid than before. Clearly, the technicians had worked through the night to optimize its performance. And facing certain death, the human Raymond, whose temporary survival has been an insult to Corvani honor. From the opposite end of the arena, Raymond emerged, still wearing nothing but simple prisoner's garments. The crowd jeered and shouted, many throwing objects that fell short of the energy barrier separating spectators from the battlefield. Raymond took his position at the center of the arena, his expression betraying nothing of the plan set in motion. His eyes briefly flicked toward Vorak's box, memorizing its location and the most direct route to reach it once chaos erupted. Inside her mech, Sarissa opened a private communication channel to Keleth. "Status?" "In position," came the reply. "Broadcasting hub security bypassed. Awaiting your signal." "Understood." She switched to the arena-wide channel. "Begin combat sequence." The mech lunged forward, its movements aggressive but carefully calculated to miss Raymond by narrow margins. To the crowd, it appeared Sarissa was toying with her prey. To Vorak, watching intently, it might have seemed she was prolonging the human suffering for her own satisfaction. Raymond played his part perfectly, dodging the mech's attacks with increasingly desperate movements, appearing to tire as the battle continued. Meanwhile, Sarissa maneuvered them systematically closer to a maintenance hatch hidden among the obstacles, their planned escape route. "Citizens of Corvani," boomed the announcer, "witness the inevitable triumph of superior technology and—" The voice cut off abruptly. Throughout the arena, the massive viewing screens flickered, then changed from the live battle footage to a stark image of the laboratory beneath them. "What is happening?" Vorak demanded, rising from his seat. "Security! Lock down the broadcast center immediately." But it was too late. Across 15 star systems, billions of viewers watched as the camera panned across rows of examination tables, showing human subjects in various stages of horrific genetic modification. Vorak's own voice played over the footage, his conversation with the hegemony representative, discussing the sale of hybrid soldiers, the manipulation of both human and Corvani leadership, the prolonging of the war for profit. In the arena, the crowd fell silent, then erupted in confused shouting. Many began to leave their seats, while others stared transfixed at the screens. Security forces moved uncertainly, waiting for clear orders. Sarissa's mech froze mid-attack. She activated her external speakers, her voice echoing across the arena. "People of Corvani, what you are seeing is the truth. The war is built on lies. Vorak has betrayed us all." Raymond used the distraction to sprint toward the maintenance hatch. As planned, it opened as he approached, Keleth's work ensuring the security lockdown wouldn't affect their escape routes. Disappearing into the passage, Raymond began climbing toward the upper levels where Vorak's box was located. In the luxury box, Vorak frantically activated emergency protocols on his personal communicator. "Bruthen, deploy security teams to the broadcast center. Shoot the traitors on sight." The hegemony representative had already slipped away, disappearing in the growing confusion. Vorak turned to follow, only to find his private exit blocked by the sudden arrival of Bruthen, the arena's security chief. "Arena Master," Bruthen said, his expression troubled. "Is what we're seeing true? Are you experimenting on prisoners without military council approval?" "You dare question me?" Vorak snarled. "Execute your orders, Captain, or face charges of treason." Bruthen hesitated, his hand resting on his weapon. Around them, the sounds of chaos grew, shouting from the corridors, the distant crack of energy weapons being discharged. "The broadcasts cannot be stopped," Bruthen reported. "They've locked out central control. The footage is being transmitted from multiple redundant sources." Vorak's pale face contorted with rage. "Then prepare my shuttle. I'm invoking Emergency Protocol 7. "Sir, that would require—" "Do it now!" Vorak pushed past Bruthen, heading for his private chambers, connected to the luxury box. He entered the room and sealed the door behind him, moving quickly to a hidden safe embedded in the wall. From it, he removed a small case containing emergency credentials and access codes. "Computer, prepare evacuation sequence," he commanded. "Authorization Vorak Prime Alpha." "Sequence initiated," responded the artificial intelligence. "Shuttle preparing for launch in 3 minutes." A sound behind him made Vorak spin around. Raymond stood in the doorway that connected to a service passage. The door now forced open. "Hello, Arena Master," Raymond said quietly. "Going somewhere?" Vorak's hand moved toward a concealed weapon, but Raymond was faster. He crossed the room in 2 strides, catching Vorak's wrist and twisting until the Corvani gasped in pain. "How did you get in here?" Vorak demanded. "Your arena has remarkable security flaws when you know where to look," Raymond replied, forcing Vorak into a chair. "Now, you're going to sit quietly while your world falls apart around you." On the screens, visible through the window overlooking the arena, the evidence continued to mount. Financial transactions linking Vorak to the hegemony. Records of falsified attacks attributed to humans. Documentation of unauthorized genetic experiments. The crowd had largely dispersed, some fleeing the arena entirely, others gathering in confused groups. Sarissa's voice continued to broadcast across the facility. "People of Corvani, the truth seekers have been working to expose this corruption for years. The humans are not our enemy. We have been manipulated into this war by those who profit from our mutual destruction." In the arena below, Sarissa had opened her mech's cockpit and stood exposed to the crowd. Security forces surrounded her, but they made no move to attack. Some had even lowered their weapons, clearly unsure where their loyalties should lie in the face of such revelations. "You've lost, Vorak," Raymond said, watching the arena master's face as he realized the extent of his downfall. "Your own people are turning against you." The door to the luxury box burst open, and Bruthen entered with a squad of security officers. Their weapons were drawn but not aimed. "Arena Master Vorak," Bruthen said formally, "by authority of the Military Council, you are relieved of command pending investigation into these allegations." "The Council has no authority over me," Vorak spat. "I answer directly to the Prime Minister." "The Prime Minister is already responding to these broadcasts," Bruthen replied, his voice steady. "He has ordered your detainment until the truth can be established." Raymond stepped away as the security officers moved to take Vorak into custody. The arena master's proud bearing crumbled, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "This means nothing," Vorak said bitterly. "The hegemony will still get what they want. The war will continue. You've merely removed one player from the board." "Perhaps," Raymond acknowledged, "but it's a start." As Vorak was led away, Bruthen turned to Raymond. "The human resistance fighter, I presume?" "Just a soldier trying to survive," Raymond corrected him. "Well, soldier, it seems you've done more than that today." Bruthen gestured to the screens where the broadcast continued. "You've changed the course of this war." In the corridors of the arena complex, confusion reigned. Some security forces remained loyal to Vorak, engaging in brief, violent clashes with those who had sided with the truth seekers. Civilians caught in the middle fled for safety or huddled in secure areas. Raymond made his way back down to the arena floor, navigating through service passages as planned. He emerged to find Sarissa surrounded by a group of Corvani military officers, some in security uniforms, others in the distinctive attire of ship commanders. "Raymond," she called when she spotted him. "Vorak?" "In custody," he confirmed, approaching the group. "Your Captain Bruthen seems to have chosen a side." "Many are choosing sides now," said one of the officers, a grizzled commander with battle scars across his face. "The question is, what happens next?" Keleth appeared, moving through the scattered groups, still present in the arena. His shifting skin had settled into a calm, blue-green pattern. "What happens next is we tell the truth to both our peoples. All of it." "The broadcasts have reached Earth colonies," reported another officer, checking a communication device. "Human leadership is requesting direct contact." "And our government is in emergency session," added the scarred commander. "The Prime Minister is addressing the public within the hour." Sarissa looked at Raymond. "It's happening faster than we anticipated." "Revolutions often do," Keleth observed. "Once the truth escapes, it cannot be contained." Over the next several hours, the situation throughout Corvani space evolved rapidly. The broadcasts had triggered widespread protests in major cities, with citizens demanding answers about the war and Vorex experiments. Military units reported confusion and, in some cases, refusal to follow orders from commanders suspected of complicity. Raymond, Sarissa, and Kelleth found themselves at the center of rapidly forming peace negotiations. Human diplomatic channels had been opened for the first time in years, with representatives expressing cautious interest in ceasefire discussions. 3 weeks later, Raymond stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city of Corvani Prime. The metropolis stretched before him, its sleek architecture gleaming in the light of the rising sun. The air carried the scent of flowering plants, a sharp contrast to the antiseptic smell of the arena that had been his home for months. Sarissa joined him, dressed not in military uniform, but in the flowing garments of a civilian. "The formal peace accord will be signed tomorrow," she said. "Your Ambassador Ellis arrived an hour ago." Raymond nodded. "And Vorak?" "His trial begins next week. The evidence is overwhelming." She leaned against the balcony railing. "The laboratory subjects, your comrades, are recovering. Some of the genetic modifications cannot be reversed, but they're stable. They'll live." "And the war?" "Officially ending, though rebuilding trust will take longer." She turned to face him. "Many on both sides profited from the conflict. They won't surrender their interests easily." Raymond's hand found hers on the railing. "Then we'll have to remain vigilant." She asked, her crimson eyes meeting his. "I've been offered a position with the Joint Human-Corvani Reconciliation Commission," he told her. "They want former soldiers to help bridge the cultural gaps. And you accepted." "I told them I needed to consult with my Corvani cultural advisor first." He smiled slightly. "What do you think? Is there a place for someone like me here?" Sarissa's fingers intertwined with his. "I think there's much we can learn from each other. Your people's adaptability, your creativity. Those are strengths my people have often overlooked. And your technological advancement, your sense of order and purpose. Humans could benefit from that perspective." The sun rose higher, bathing the city in golden light. In the distance, a transport ship ascended toward orbit, the first commercial vessel permitted between human and Corvani space in years. "I want to see Earth someday," Sarissa said, watching the ship. "To understand where you come from." "And I want to learn about Corvani," Raymond replied. "The real Corvani, not the enemy I was taught to fear." A communication device chimed softly. Sarissa checked it and sighed. "The Reconciliation Committee is assembling. They want us both there for the preliminary discussions." Raymond nodded, but didn't move immediately. "Before we go, thank you for surrendering that day in the arena, for taking that risk." "I saw something in you worth saving," she said simply. "Something that reminded me we're not so different, despite our appearances." Together, they left the balcony and prepared to face the challenges ahead. The war had officially ended, but the work of peace was just beginning. It would not be easy. Generations of hostility could not be erased overnight. Trust would need to be built slowly, deliberately. But as Raymond walked beside Sarissa toward the meeting that would help shape their people's shared future, he felt something he hadn't experienced since before his capture. Hope. Not just for his own survival, but for something larger. A peace built on truth rather than deception, on understanding rather than fear. The sun continued to rise over Corvani Prime, its light falling equally on the human and the Corvani walking side by side.